Okay, welcome to the Maine Basketball Rankings podcast. I'm your host, Lucas McNally, the basketball data nerd who built a spreadsheet that hates your team. With me today is Tyler. And Tyler, I've forgotten already how to pronounce your last name. It's
Krusz.
Krusz. See, that's what I
Yeah,
thought. And then I
not hard
thought,
to pronounce, but you look at it and you see the S and the Z and everything. Yeah, one vowel.
and you second guess it.
Yeah.
It's like the names. It's like the names in the program now where you see the name and it used to be like Jesse. And now there's, for some reason, a Z and a Y and three I's, and you're like, I don't know what this is now. Is this still Jesse?
There
It's
was
like,
who they got Grayson Tebow's name wrong this year.
did they?
They gave him Grayson Thenault, or they put an N there instead of a B.
Some of
So
these
automatically
programs,
the end of the name is just pronounced differently. That's what I just did.
it's like the Welsh national team is playing the Polish national team with some of these rosters. It's just white people from Maine.
At least
I'm not sure what's going on.
At least most of them come program time are in order by number and not by year. But you'll come across some and it's like, what are we doing here?
Man, Class D South was just a disaster. Like every single one of them was in just some random order. The order that gets me is when there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's not the seniors first, and it's not in alphabetical order, and it's not numerical order, and it's just like, did they just were they in the gym at practice and just looking around and going, oh, Jimmy, okay, we got Jimmy, Cooper, sure, yeah, this guy. They just write them down as they go through.
They had a fire drill once, and that's just the order they lined up in. So when he was taking attendance, that's how he wrote it down.
Yeah, and they don't give us the heights anymore, so we can't even figure out how tall these are. We're sort of guessing. Which
Yeah,
that's the thing I want to see back.
And besides Merrick Smith, none of them are tall enough where, they're all around 6 feet, the tall ones.
Yeah. Yeah, Deering had a girl who was, I think, 4'11", and she was just she was amazing. But she was a 4'11", maybe freshman, and she was their best player. And I just spent the whole game going, why doesn't she have the ball more?
I love small guards.
She should really have the ball more.
Yeah, watching small guards play, so much fun. It's probably my favorite. Yeah, a guy like Fats Russell from Rhode Island. Yeah.
All right, so let's start with Rhode Island. You're from Rhode Island.
Yes, URI grad.
Born and raised, I'm guessing.
Born in Boston for about a year.
Oh, all right, one of those.
Well, my mom's from Rhode Island. My dad's from Connecticut, but they were on the Air Force base because my mom was serving in the Air Force. So like, it's not like we're not Bostonians that moved anywhere, but we're Rhode Islanders that were living there.
Does Rhode Island have the same rules as Maine does? Like, if you had moved to Rhode Island at 1, would you be allowed to be a Rhode Islander? What's a Rhode Islander? Is it a Rhode Islander?
Yeah.
A roadie?
Rhode Islander, yeah.
Rhode Islander
hopefully you have nobody like important legally watching these because I haven't switched anything over yet. I'm still technically Rhode Island resident.
I don't think anyone's gonna care. But it's not like in Maine where if you were born, like my mother was born in Boston and lived there until she was like 4, and so she's from away. She's not local.
Yeah, but what do you mean rules?
Like that's the rule in Maine is if you weren't born in the state, in the physical state, you're not a Mainer.
And I feel like if you lived in Rhode Island long enough, it's such a small state that you begin to know everybody and you begin to talk in old store landmarks. Like it's by where the Benny's used to be. It's by the old Dunkin', stuff like that. So once you've been integrated into the culture, I think you're there.
So it's a little more accepting of people from away than Maine is.
I felt that Maine was pretty accepting. I think Rhode Island isn't, I'm not coming from the South Shore. I'm not coming from Connecticut, so nobody really knows much. They're like, yeah, Rhode Island.
All right. Yeah. I was just wondering.
We beat them in football mostly every year. So
I was just wondering if the other states had these same like local rules. I call it the Tim Sample rule here, where
I think Maine's just really a lot of pride.
A lot of pride, yeah. It's like Texas.
I think that's where it stems from.
Part of it's you're up at the corner and it's cold, and so you don't really have any neighboring states. You just have New Hampshire, but they don't count. It's not a real state.
I can't say that being from a state that takes 40 minutes to get north to south.
That's true. I ran in a real state. When I was a kid, I ran cross country and I ran what was it called? TAC or something. Anyway, the regionals were in Rhode Island, and the joke was it was just a lap around the state.
Basically, that was the one thing that it's kind of like my buddy lives in he lives outside of Standish. I'm blanking on the Shapley. And
Okay.
I was thinking, yeah, I can make a day trip. We're both in Maine. I'll go visit him. And then it's like a 6-hour round trip. And I'm like, geez, like, like we used to make day trips from the top of the state to the bottom of the state. And that was a beach day. And, the only
Yeah.
problem was you'd sit in traffic for an hour.
Yeah. I mean, me getting to Bangor is like 2 hours each way.
Yeah. So if
And
you had Rhode
I'm not
Island
even,
traffic, it was 4.
yeah, and I'm not even like far, really. I'm in the mid coast. Like it's not like I'm in Portland.
Yeah. You can kind of, you cruise in Maine. There's not really a lot of people on the roads. So
Yeah.
that's where I like, I get back to Rhode Island and I hit the Pawtucket S curves, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. And all of a sudden the brake lights come on and we're done.
That's no fun.
Yeah.
All right. So then you end up here in Maine, up at
Yes.
it's Fox Bangor, right? Yeah, it's Fox Bangor.
Yes.
Yes. How did you end up in here? And
So I took a
in Maine?
job in Michigan and
Okay.
it was an 18-month contract, and about 10 months in I heard they were hiring in Bangor. So I sent Dave Peck an email and he
Mhm.
brought me in, and it's all been a blast from here, really.
Cool. Cool. So here, this is one thing I've always wondered about, and I always forget to ask people is like, is when you come into a new market like that, is there like a process by which they sort of show you the lay of the land, but in a way that you wouldn't necessarily expect? Do they go, hey, there's this guy, Adam Robinson, and he wears some weird clothes if you put him on camera. So,
I think Adam and I
FYI.
met like digitally, like we just had like a Twitter friendship for a while, and then it
Yeah.
turned into. But not really. I think it was like 2 days in, and he was like, "All right, you're going to." I think I was going to like Coney for a football game, and it was like my second day in. And he was like, "You're gonna come back, and we're gonna do the show." And then it's all been so there wasn't. So I came from. I had a little bit of experience, so I wasn't like fresh out of college, so I
Right.
didn't really have a formal training period. They were just like. I think I pronounced Orono my first ever story, and he was like,
Oh,
someone laughed.
no.
Maybe not like I think it was just in the newsroom, and he was like, "Don't say that. Here are all the pronunciations.
Yeah.
Actually, let's get that out
Like,
of the
yeah, do they have a guide?
way."
Like, you're a guide to C North pronunciations,
That was
and
basically it. That was my formal training, was how to pronounce everything.
you're going to need to be able to spell all these by the end of the week. Um,
We'll have a
Good
quiz
luck.
on it.
Yeah. You're going to need to be able to tell the difference between Penobscot Valley and Piscataquis, and God bless.
The colors, one's blue, one's green.
One's blue and one's green. There you go. And Piscataquis has that great pirate logo.
I
One
love
of
it.
my favorite logos.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome.
I still get confused when people. So there's some people who refer to them as like PCHS, and anytime someone does the initials like that, it drives me crazy because I'm like, guys, there are a lot of schools that start with P. Like there's
Yeah, and
only
there
a
are a lot
couple
of
where you're allowed to do the initials.
there are a lot of county high school, community high school, stuff like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
prefer Piscataquis. But shout out Jeff Hoke, works at Channel 7 with me, went there. So I think he calls it PCHS. He'll write that sometimes for us. So
It's like
it might be how they
someone
say it.
listed him as Lincoln once, or somebody up there is Lincoln, and
Mattanochuk is in Lincoln, yeah.
in Lincoln, yeah, that's the one. And it completely threw me because it was a score. They listed the score as Lincoln versus like Dexter or somebody,
Yeah.
right? And I'm pretty sure Lincoln Academy doesn't play Dexter.
That's a weird game, yeah.
Like that's a really long road trip for a Tuesday. And then there's GNG is allowed, I think, and OOB and a couple more, and then the rest you got to list the name.
Yeah. I'm trying to think other ones. Maybe that's about it. PVHS, Penobscot Valley. I do that sometimes.
And MDI and MCI.
MDI, MCI. Yeah, nobody's calling them the full names.
Right.
Yeah,
Only
you're
the
right. That's about
MPA
it.
in the standings where it's like
Yeah,
they list the whole thing out and it throws me
the
off.
whole
I'm
thing.
like,
My
what are we
favorite's
talking
with the
about?
hockey co-ops. It's like 2 lines of teams.
Yeah. It's like 6 teams and they're all mashed together. And then there's the big long name, and then there's like the nickname name. And I'm just like, I don't know
never
what's
know
going
what
on
to
here.
put on the screen when I'm listing the score. I'm like, do I put the nickname? Do I put the host school? Sometimes if like it's 3 schools, I'll put the host school. But like with the girls hockey team up here, I'll just put Pioneers.
Yeah. For football, for the rankings, I had that trick where I'm just like, I don't like who it's, Winthrop, Spruce, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I just pick one and go with it. And if somebody corrects me, they correct me.
That's the one thing where you're like, what does Max Prep say?
Yeah, there you go. What does Max Prep say? They sometimes know what they're doing.
That's the one thing I'll refer to them for.
Yeah. All right. So when did you end up in Maine? Because it's everything blended together. Was it around the pandemic?
It was
it
October
before?
2021.
Okay. So it was
So
during or near the
just
tail end of
about
it.
we were seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
I moved to Michigan in the middle of it. I moved in November of 2020. And
Jeez.
that was interesting because like we on the way there, we went out to dinner in Connecticut, breakfast in Philadelphia. We go to Michigan and I go to sit down at a bar and get a beer and they're like, "What are you doing? We don't do in-house dining here. Like get the hell out."
Wow.
It's
Yeah,
just
that would be
every
a
state had
wild
different
time.
rules. Yeah. But I got
That would
here
be a
and it was
wild
kind
time
of
to move.
we were all wearing masks and there were like you had to have the capacity limits at the gyms.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it was kind of not over, but it was life was people were getting back out and doing things.
So you got here for the chin strap mask season of
Yes, the chin strap.
basketball
Yep.
with fans in the crowd.
Yes.
Okay.
Were
So
the
you weren't
fans
here for
have
the COVID
fans
stuff.
had masks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the fans all had masks
Yeah, I had
and
to wear one too. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Because you lose track of these things. And for you, it's like,
You
yeah,
do.
you've been here
It's all
forever.
blur. So this is my last year of my contract. Don't know what I'm gonna do yet.
That was my next question.
Yeah. That's a yeah, I have no idea.
All right.
Couldn't tell you.
All right. All right. I think you should stay because you've already learned all the names.
I do. And that's
You know
something
where
that
things
you're never
are.
gonna forget too. Like I'm never gonna forget how to pronounce Madawaska, Mattanockcook, and Maranacook.
Yeah. You're never gonna lose that skill. So you might as well stay somewhere where you need it. Because then you're gonna have to go if you go somewhere else, you end up with like Chippewa Falls or something if you're in Ohio, and then that's a whole different set of challenges, and you're gonna get confused because they'll have their own Camden, and then you'll be like, oh, wait a minute, this is the Windjammers. You'll call them the Windjammers on camera, and then you'll get all sorts of emails, and some guy will drive all the way there to tell you that you got it wrong.
There was a high school in Michigan spelt the same way as Presque Isle, but they called it Presqu'Isle.
Oh,
And it's
geez.
same exact spelling, both way up north. Yeah.
That would throw me. That would definitely throw me. All right, so you had this video. We'll pivot here. You had this video, this One Shining Moment video, which is obviously a play on the famous One Shining Moment video. How long have you wanted to do this video? Because it's very well done, and it's doing quite well.
I got the idea. Thank you, by the way. It was a lot of fun to do. I got the idea at the beginning, of not the beginning of basketball season, but like right around when it came to playoffs. I don't know where it came from. I think it just popped to me like maybe in the shower one day, where some random ideas come to you. It was, but I was like, oh, I should do a One Shining Moment video from Maine high school basketball. Maybe I got like a really cool clip at some game and I was like, that would look good in a One Shining Moment. But we went to Brooklyn to cover the Atlantic 10 tournament my junior year. It was at the Barclays Center, and my buddy was working on like a One Shining Moment video just for, craps and giggles about URI basketball. And it was stuck in my head. And then, somehow I did that. I had a couple of clips in mind, and a couple of them came to just fruition perfectly. Like I zoomed in on Jalen Reed after a bucket once, and he blinks 3 times. I'm like, in the blinking of an eye. It just all worked out like that. It was really fun.
And I like there was like a bit of a narrative thread through it where you started with you sort of combined sections, I guess, and would sort of work through it. And you had like sort of a pregame, and then you had stands and all this stuff going through.
Yeah, I tried to make it where the before the words kind of started was about the crowds, because that's half of the tournament and stuff like that. So all the best, crowd shots or whatever, and the pregame shot. And then once the ball was tipped, I tried to get the best because there are so many teams that I couldn't really cut back to the crowds and try to get as many teams as I did in there. And I still I wasn't able to get any AA stuff. We share footage with David down at WGME, and I didn't want to put my logo on something that they shot, So it was, even though we run it with no problem, but it was, so I was A through D and just tried to get as many teams as I could in there once the ball was tipped, and there you are. It was really fun.
So how long did that take to edit it? Because you don't have a lot of turnaround, but I know that's a lot of editing.
So I tried to gather. The hardest part was going through all of the clips. So I had
Oh, believe me, I know.
me, Ryan Sudol, our other guy down there, and then Connor Adams, our intern, shoot. I told them to try to shoot a bunch of like tighter shots if they could at timeouts in between buckets and whatnot, and especially if they had highlights and the game was out of reach. And we put them all in a folder. And I started the Monday after regionals.
Okay.
And then my goal was to get it done before states on Friday. I wasn't able to get and like just have the states part. I had most of it done Saturday, and then I just had to go back and lay the audio and change out a few clips and go through what Ryan and Connor shot Saturday. So it took me about a week, but I was only working on it for like 2 hours a day, an hour a day.
Right. And then you had audio from the ticket, right?
Yes, I do the morning roast there. Shout out to the morning roast, 6 to 8 in the morning. I'm on Wednesday, Thursdays. They're on Monday through Fridays. Shameless plug. And I'll do so I had their archives. They were able to send me a couple of cool clips from there, so I credited them. And the other ones I took from our shows that, we were voicing over our highlights and stuff like that. So that was cool.
Yeah, that adds a nice little component to it. And I just like know because I'm trying to edit a feature film and just so like how much footage there is. And
there's so much footage.
It's like, and then just narrowing that down, winnowing it down, and winnowing it down, and winnowing it down, and you think you're done, and you're like, no, it's 4 minutes too long. Okay, I guess I'm not done.
And
I guess I gotta trim some more.
The worst part about it was I'd come home from work like around midnight and stuff, and just have that freaking song in my head, like whatever part of the song I was editing that day. I could sing you the song off the top of my head right now. It's been still stuck in my head. I've also been watching the video every now. It's fun.
I've been hearing the song that they play in Portland and the introductions in my sleep. Or like I'm still hearing it in my sleep. I don't know. I don't remember what they played up in Bangor, if it's the same music, but it's like and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I couldn't tell you.
They played the same song every game in Portland.
The bands or just like the arena?
The arena, because there had very few bands in Portland down south.
There was at least I think a band a game.
Oh wow.
So we had that going on. That was I think another cool part was all the bands.
So we had one band at the expo total, and then there were some more for the state games. Give me your top 5 bands that were in Bangor.
I gotta go.
Or you can go Augusta too, I guess, because you were in Augusta too, right?
Ryan was. I didn't get to Augusta this year. They have some cool bands though. Lawrence is really good.
I love the best.
I wasn't there to see them though, but Lawrence has a great band. I gotta go MDI and Old Town tied for top. And then Ellsworth had a really good band. Caribou's was pretty good, and then I'm blanking on the last one. I'll throw Lawrence in there on top 5 because I did see the clips of Lawrence. They had a pretty good band. But MDI and Old Town were great.
Does Holton still have the band they had last year that was basically a drum kit and a couple guitars? Do you remember that clip?
I don't remember seeing Holton this year.
Okay. So last year there was a clip that went like a little viral, went pretty viral, where for their girls game, it was basically just a rock band, which is what Mesalonsky usually does.
I remember that last year, actually.
Yeah, and these girls are coming out, like imagine you driving, I think it was MCI to drive all the way up to Holton. You come out and there's this band.
Like a heavy metal band playing.
yeah, and it's great.
Sandstorm
and I'm like,
live while you're running out. Yeah.
Even these schools that don't have bands, I'm like, guys, just get a drummer, get a couple guitars, and just rock it out, and it'll be awesome.
Get one teacher that knows how to play an instrument, and then a couple of guys that are interested, and you're good to go.
Yeah, it would be great. Play some heavy metal from the 80s, and all the sports writers will love it. And
well, you really need 2. You need one guy pounding on the drums and one guy playing a guitar.
That's pretty much all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that complicated. I don't know why more teams don't do it.
It adds a lot to the atmosphere and the environment. It's really fun.
It does. It really does. We had bands for the AA state games, and even some of the teams that were at the expo for A had bands at the hockey rink. And I'm like, where's this band been?
Hamden Academy's got a pretty good band too.
They have a pretty good one. G&G just showed up with a band, and I'm like, where's this band been all week?
Where are you coming from?
Yeah, you didn't come to the expo? There's room at the expo. You could have played at the expo, I assume. I don't know.
They only show up for the big ticket events.
That must be it. All right. So give me a couple players who like really impressed you that maybe weren't, that aren't Pierce Wilson.
Weren't on my. All right, I'll stay with Orno though. Bergen Soderberg. I
Okay.
was telling you can ask Adam this too before the game, and I think it was with Tyler Huey. I was like, well, last year when Orno beat Ellsworth, they came out. Ellis Spalding hit a couple of big shots first half. I was like, they need someone like Bergen Soderberg to come out. He had 2 threes first half after I said that.
Right.
And I think that was huge because that added a guy that you have to now really pay attention to because you live in
It's
not
massive.
three, but you make a couple of threes. That's a 6-0 run right there. You make 2 threes in a row. That's big.
Yeah.
So he was huge. And if we're going on guys that maybe fly under the radar, I'll leave all of the Mr. Maine finalists and semifinalists off, the Miss Maine finalists, semifinalists off. I liked Joe James Chin from Ellsworth was great.
Oh, that's a good name.
Jamison Ware from MDI was awesome. A big man, really fun to watch. Not really under the radar, but I would think he's their number 2 scoring option. Was Grayson from Old Town was a blast to watch. Oh my God, he was awesome.
Which one is he? Because I saw them in
the point guard.
The point guard.
Point guard. He just really controlled the pace. He could go fast or slow. Whatever pace he was at, he was in control. Made the right play. He was really fun to watch. That team, they were fun to watch. I mean, that Old Town Orono game was great. Old Town just ran out of gas at the end.
Their big guy looked looked exactly like a friend of mine from high school, and it was throwing me off the whole game. He looked exactly like
he's
Mike
something.
Knight.
Wait, Beither or Mahaney? Because they had 2 big guys that were pretty effective.
The one who had the huge game in the semifinal.
Beither, yeah. Is awesome. He's a junior, so he'll be back next year.
Looked exactly like Mike Knight, who played on the Madomic Valley Josh Nash teams. And just like him. And every time I look at him, I'm like, my God, it's like uncanny how similar they are.
That's funny. That's all. Yeah, he was something. I named 3, right?
I think so.
I'll give you Maddie Morrow on Caribou was great on the girls' side. I don't know if anyone flies under the radar in Ellsworth, but Lizzie Bowles hit 5 threes and a half. That was unreal. And David Tuttle out of Hodgdon. He was smooth, really fun point guard to watch. Maybe kind of flashy handles, flashy passes, and they were all effective. Really fun. Yeah, he was one of the players that small guards. Love small guards.
There was a girl who played for Biddeford, freshman Jordan Crump. She, I think, missed almost every shot she took that was inside the NBA 3-point line, but was 5 for 5 from the NBA 3-point line.
Jesus.
In the quarterfinals against Oceanside. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know, man. Maybe just make that the offense.
It's like when you do a 3-point specialist on 2K and you step inside the line to hit a range shot.
Yeah, it was crazy. And she just I think made most of them in the second half. And you're just like, what is this? This is.
That's all it takes. I mean, and especially in one and done games, you get one shooter to go off and everything changes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if she'd hit those in the first half, it might have been a completely different game.
Yeah.
Spruce had that with Avery Bessie. I think she was 8 of 11 in the first 2 games of the tournament.
From 3?
From 3, yeah. If you add that to a team, like she's normally a shooter, sure, but 8 of 11 is yikes.
You add that to the Celtics last night, they win.
Yeah. Jeez, you just
she's shades of Dean Wade.
You just take Dean Wade away, or don't blow the whistle on the final play of the game. Small things. I was trying to write the newsletter last night, and I just kept getting mad. And I was like, I'm not writing this anymore. Screw it. Getting a drink. It's all falling apart.
Yeah, season's
over.
My
parlay's falling apart. The game is falling apart. It's all going to hell. I was so annoyed because I had Jaylen Brown at 21 and a half, and he had 21 in the first 3 quarters and then didn't score.
In the fourth? Oh, my God.
And that was that killed one of my parlays.
I had a 4-leg the other day, and I teased Rutgers to 10 and a half. Mm-hmm. They go 2 for 6 from free throws in the last 2 minutes, and they lose by 11.
Ooh.
3 for 4. That was the one miss.
So how is your sports betting going? Because I think you're doing it more than me.
It's March, so it's I'm heavy on the college basketball. Been good these last 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we'll see if I can keep that going.
Okay.
and if it does, then yeah, it's been fun. I'm looking to build up a little bit of bankroll for March Madness just for that opening round. So that
Well,
way I don't have to.
you gotta put everything on Indiana State, I think,
Yeah.
because that guy's awesome. I saw
What's his name? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What's his actual name?
Robbie Avila, I think.
Robbie Avila. Yeah. I mean, he
Kareem
reminds me of
Abdul.
that. He reminds me of the Farva lookalike from Loyola, Chicago a few years ago. What was his name?
Yeah.
He had a
Krutwig
Polish
or
name
something.
and a mustache.
He was like
Krutwig. Yeah.
Krutwig.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
not
I
Polish.
saw
Eastern
one of
Europe.
his nicknames was Larry Blurred, which was pretty good. If they don't make the tournament, there's gonna be a lot of upset people.
I think they might. Hopefully, they make it. They're having one of their. They were ranked a bit for a game.
Yeah, they were like 24th or 23rd.
Yeah, they got top 68 in the net. As long as you don't have anybody like Rhode Island winning conference tournaments, then you're fine. No bid stealers.
I was reading a thing today, and they said they are probably. I think if they get to their final, they get to their conference final, they're probably safe.
Nice,
but you never know. You never know. I mean,
you never know if the committee's going to. Remember when Syracuse made it as an 11 seed a couple of years ago, and they had no business being in the tournament? Yeah.
Yeah, there's always one of those big Power 5 schools that is like 500, and they give them the last spot, and you've got like a 29-2 team that got upset in their conference tournament, and they get left out.
And there's no NIT automatic qualifier this year. Right. You win your regular season championship, you're not automatically in a tournament.
Yeah, it's so stupid. But I mean, how could you leave that team off if it's just marginal?
With the views you're going to get, and with the one shining moment clips you'll get of him.
Yeah, it's going to be like the most watched game in the first round.
Yes. I mean, probably the most bet game. There'll be Vegas will do big on them because they'll probably be a dog, and everybody's going to bet because of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, it'll be amazing. We should probably look and see. You might be able to bet them as a future now to get in. I don't know.
To get in, yeah, on certain books. Rothstein's tweeting that every day from FanDuel.
From FanDuel?
Yeah, what their odds are. I don't mind. I'm a DraftKings guy. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I like it. I just think it'd be cool to have both because then they have some promotions that look interesting.
Yeah, there's some competition in the market.
Yeah, I don't know why. What is like 3?
3 of the 4 with DraftKings.
Yeah, I feel like if I was one of those tribes, I would go, oh well, no one's going over here, so let's go over here.
No one's getting Fanatics.
Yep.
Nobody has ESPN Bet.
The one with Jamie Foxx. Which one is Jamie Foxx?
MGM.
MGM.
MGM. Well, ESPN Bet. I think they're owned by Penn National, right? And they own Hollywood. Yeah. So I don't know if ESPN Bet would have been an option. It was Barstool at the time.
Right. And I don't know if anyone wants. Yeah, I don't know if you want to touch that, a Barstool thing.
Do business.
That seems pretty risky. All right, what was I going to ask you? Yeah, so teams that surprised. Let's go teams that surprised you or give me your teams. Let's go teams that surprised you in the tournament other than Mount View. Was Mount View a surprise? Let's start with that.
I didn't see them this year because they didn't really play many games near us regular season. So
they didn't play any.
I was shocked that a 7 seed made it to the state game, but a lot of people were saying that they would be a favorite in the region. Teams that surprised me.
I was saying that.
Would you? I don't know if I'd count Bangor Christian because I had them to win when we did our preseason picks.
Yeah, they're the 2.
I didn't envision Skank being as good as they were. So I think that upset was big. Obviously, the Old Town Ellsworth upset was huge. Right. I think Orono may have been surprising to some people just because they came in as the 4 and that region was so loaded.
Yeah, but if you looked at them, if you looked at the media guide that I put out, you could see the block where they fell to 4 in their schedule. You could see there's like those 3 games.
Losses. Yeah. And then they beat those 3 teams.
Right. And if you see, that's why I like that section of the Tourney guide is then you can see stuff like that and you go, oh, something was wrong here.
Yeah.
This looks like an injury or
just a skid.
A skid, or something, but it looks like an outlier. And, I think that's more telling than if you have 3 losses spaced out through the season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I thought they came in hot. They started every game hot, which helped them. MDI girls taking Old Town to the buzzer was kind of shocking to me as the 6th seed. And MDI boys too, taking down Marana Cook. They dominated that game start to finish.
That really surprised me.
So much bigger. I think the size there really helped. And then they were pretty close with Old Town boys until Old Town pulled out.
Were they?
Or pulled ahead, yeah.
Okay.
So those MDI had showed a lot of really they were in those games in the semifinal games, which was cool. Seems that Besides that, at the Cross, that's probably it. Yeah, those games.
Okay. And then give me some way too early contenders for next year. What are we thinking for the North?
Ellsworth's going to be back. There's no doubt about that. The girls.
The girls. Are they
I think
losing anybody?
They are losing. All the main players are back. I think they have 2 seniors. One of them's the first off the bench, Meg Jordan. And yeah, it's so they're bringing back their whole lineup, their whole starting lineup.
Oh, geez.
Which is
they'll
big.
Be mad.
Yeah. Brewer. They got a freshman coming in that is
really
an absolute stud. Ollie Higgins. That's gonna be fun.
The Brewer boys?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, maybe they're not gonna. They might not win, but they got a freshman coming in who's supposedly all class.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So that should be. That's going to be. They'll be my surprise pick for next year.
What about B North? Is B North boys going to fall apart a little bit?
Well, if
Orno's losing everybody, right?
If they bring back Will Francis and they're only losing Pierce and Ben and Mason Kenny, I believe.
Oh, really? I thought they were losing.
Yeah, I mean, Pierce and Ben.
I think they were losing both Francises.
No, Ben's a year older.
Okay.
If Pierce and Ben probably account for, if you boil down the numbers, maybe over probably 60% of their points this year.
Yeah,
and that's not assists, but they're bringing back a lot of guys. Old Town will have Byther again, who's really good. Caribou boys were very close. I don't know how many seniors they have. They're out of our area. Caribou girls are going to be good. DePrey's coming back. She'll be a senior.
Right.
Yeah.
Losing Walston will be quite a bit because he's that, pure floor general type, right?
Yeah. They'll be,
I think was most impressed. It's really dumb, but the thing that really impressed me with him was when they were trying to stall out. It was either one of the 2 games where he would sort of his handle was great, but then he would hold the ball like in a where no one could get to it, and he's watching the ref.
Yep.
And
they had a good stall offense because they weren't just stalling. They would bring the defense up, have the defense press, and then they'd always get a layup out of it. I think every game they went to stall offense, they ended up getting a shot off every single possession they went to that. It just took them a bit. But they're really good at that stall offense because Pierce is such a good A, passer, and B, ball handler. And he watched the ref. I mean, I was looking at that and I was like, he's waiting for the 4 count and then he's moving the ball.
And then he's doing it, and then he's mouthing the count.
Yep.
At the same time, which is smart because then the ref's not going to give you a 5-second count there. Because
if you're saying exactly.
Yeah, if you're on 3, he's not going to blow the whistle.
You had a better view of that than me. I feel like on the sideline, I was on the baseline, so I couldn't see him mouthing the words because every game they were going the other way.
Yeah, and he's just staring right at the ref and mouthing it. 1, 3.
That is awesome.
And then on 4, the ball goes down. And I was like, wow, that's really smart. I mean,
such a smart player. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of weird that he's not.
I think he was I don't know if the school's. I think it was University of Kansas City or Kansas City. He was an assistant coach at the D1 level before coming back. Yeah, their head coach.
Oh, their head coach. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed what you said there. All right, so let's transition into let's get your Mr. Basketball thoughts because this is a disaster of a finalist.
I was thinking about this earlier. I knew this question was coming.
Right.
Clearly, Pierce is deserving to be on that list. But it's so easy to sit there and look at people that got left off and say, this guy should be there, this guy should be there. What's the hard part is looking at the 3 guys that are on the list and saying who shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it's really easy to list 15 people who should be a semifinalist and be like, how could they not do that?
Yeah, so maybe they just don't release a finalist list so we don't have this debate.
But that's in their rules.
Yeah, change them.
Change the rules. Yeah, that's what I would.
They did it. They do it for the classes every year.
Yeah, I mean,
They did it the 1-1 this year, and that was a disaster.
Oh yeah. So you're with me on the 1-1 should come back?
Yes. If you're, yeah,
we'll start a petition.
About, I mean, the NCAA didn't have a shot clock until I think it was the 70s or 80s. You know,
something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's how Dean Smith was such a good coach with his 4 corners offense. I mean, they were just able to stall him out. I mean, he lost him that 77 game against Marquette, but other than that, it's it's hard to say that because then how much is it going to cost gyms to put shot clocks in? How much is it going to cost all of these athletic departments to institute that? I would like to see basketball with a shot clock. I think it's a better product, but I don't think it's absolutely. If you have the 1-1 rule, it's probably not absolutely necessary. I think getting rid of the one of them. You can't have both ways. If you're not going to have 1-1, you need a shot clock. If you're not going to have a shot clock, you need 1-1 because you need to foul 5 times a quarter just to get to the line, and then you're giving them 2 shots.
Yeah. I told the MPA guys my idea of how to get the shot clock implemented, and it's not. I should say it's not the MPA who's the holdup here. It's like 5 athletic directors, I think, or something like that, who just have a lot of power. But so the way I think would solve the problem really fast because we already have shot clocks at the tournament sites. Say, okay, the shot clock is optional for the regular season, but we're going to use it in the tournament. And then I promise you, Caribou will find money for a shot clock within a week. Yeah. Because
that's a good point.
Everybody will find it. Like North Haven might not.
Well, you could just use one of those clocks that sit at the table.
Yeah.
And those have a shot clock on it. I mean, watching it from the field of play might be a little tough. Maybe you have the scorer's table opposite the bench so the coach can see it and yell out the time. I worked.
It doesn't have to be the most elaborate thing.
Yeah, no, I worked the table at the Y, and that's all we had was one of those stand scoreboards, and we didn't have a shot clock at the Y, but there was an option for it.
And I'm sure that's like at AAU games, they're used to the clock being in weird places.
Yeah,
and for a regular season game, it's not that important.
Running, yeah.
And just the idea of the shot clock would speed things up.
I think it would speed the pace of play up. I think it would make, it would make a 6-point game in a minute not feel out of reach.
Right.
Or maybe
you need an absolute disaster for that.
Shot clock will be what? It's 30 seconds in college. Give them 40.
Yeah.
35, 40-second shot clock if you do have it. And I think you'll see more points even from teams that don't score a lot of points just because they're running sets that'll get you early shots, or they're just shooting the ball more, and that's going to hopefully result in more baskets.
You would think. I mean, even if you're shooting 10%, that's better than nothing.
Law of odds.
Not shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a lot of possessions currently where a team is trying to score that are longer than 40 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be one a game where the defense is really locked in and the team is truly trying to score and not just running a 3-man weave up top.
Yep. Yeah, it stinks watching stall ball, but it's by analytics wise, smartest thing you can do when you're up late in a game and there's no shot clock.
I know. It's kind of like the shift in baseball. It's like, yes, it's correct. But my God, watching it.
Shift.
I am
like
mostly,
when I see the third baseman lined up in center field. It's fun.
Fun,
drop down a bunt, learn how to bunt.
But you get the point. It's the correct thing in a 1-game situation.
It's the right thing to do. It's the best way you're going to win. But I want to bleach my eyes.
Yeah, and it's not so bad if you're watching 4 games. But I watched 43 games, and dear God, the stalling. Yeah. I told Wyndham's coach after the end of that game, I was like, because that was a great game, the Wyndham Gorham game, the AA goal ball game was a great game. And I was telling Wyndham coach afterwards, I was like, if either one of you had tried to stall the last 2 minutes of this fantastic game, I was tempted to jump over the table and file a protest.
Oh, yeah,
That was
because like some of the best games I've watched, there hasn't really been too much stuff. Brewer Falmouth last year, Ellsworth Old Town last year. Probably those two games are probably two of the best games I've seen all tournament, minus the B finals my first year. I was a little raw and a little fresh, so I didn't really. I was kind of caught up in the work more than I was watching the game. But that Ellsworth Yarmouth game and the Herman Oceanside games are great.
Yeah. The one team I saw that could have stalled and probably should have stalled, and it nearly cost them that they didn't, but I was like, God bless you guys, was G&G and Noble, because they had a lead in that game. They're up 20, and Noble, dangerous team, and they played it out straight. They're like, we're just going to do it. And Jameer Rose came alive, and it was like, oh boy, this is going to get interesting. But they answered, and that's why they're state champions.
Yeah. Credit to them. That's fun. That's good.
It was beautiful.
I like that. I like when you do the might not necessarily be the best thing, but for everybody watching the game, they're thanking you for it at the end.
I think someone made the joke that they just don't know how to go that speed.
They have one speed.
Yeah, all we do is go fast, and that's it. That's all we got. We just do it really, really, really well.
Oh, that's fun.
All right, so let's go over these finalists here. We got, for the one person who doesn't know, who's been living under a rock, we got Chance Mercier, we got Carter Galley, and we got Zach McClellan. And you've seen all of them, but you've seen two of them a lot more than you've seen, right? You've seen Galley a couple times.
Chance and Zach a lot more than I saw Carter. It's tough because Zach's such a good dude, and so is Chance. I mean, they're both awesome guys.
Whatever you do, don't say anything bad against Zach, because his mother will yell at you on Facebook.
I like them. I've had Zach in studio twice for live interviews. Once with his sister Bella, who goes to Providence College. We won't talk about Providence College, and Zach as well. And then Zach came in with JJ Wolfington at the beginning of the season this year, and
who had a great tournament, by the way. JJ Wolfington had a fantastic tournament.
Awesome. He's great. But I mean, I can't say enough about the character of both kids. And the way they both play, high motor guys, they can get their shot off. That's the most fun part. Is they're guys that haven't abandoned the mid range game. They get space in the mid range and they pull up, and they're both great shooters that go balls to the wall on defense. But if I have to go for a career standpoint, Chance was in a state championship his sophomore year. He was the second best player, arguably the best player on some nights on that team with Hunter Curtis. And if it's a career award, I got to go with Chance, but it's hard to look at that list and not pick, and pick two losers. You know what I'm saying? Because all three of those guys, I think, are very well deserving of the award. I mean, you look at Carter's stats this year, just points per game standpoint, and he lit it up. I
think he finished averaging 30.
Can't have this conversation without obviously acknowledging that, Pierce Walston had a heck of a 4 years himself, but I don't think he's sitting there with his 2 gold balls thinking, geez, I wish I had more points per game this year.
Right.
I think it's kind of like Jason Tatum's not going to win the MVP this year, but is he going to be upset about it if the goal is reached? No.
Right.
But if I had to pick between those three, I don't know too much about Carter besides the fact that he lit it up this year, but career standpoint, I got to go with Mercier.
And the thing with Carter's stats is they probably should be higher.
His brother was right there.
His brother was right there, and he only played 3 quarters for like most of the year.
That's true. 3 quarters, but probably more shots attempted than any other player in the league.
Maybe, yeah.
They play at such a high pace. They create so many turnovers. They were a fun team this year.
They're really fun to watch when you're not playing against them.
Yeah, fair enough.
They're very stressful to play against, and to be cheering for the team that's playing them, because you're just like waiting for the explode. It's like watching Steph. You're just waiting for the 3-point avalanche to come, or Dean Wade.
In a row on
it's like going against Dean Wade. You're just waiting for Dean Wade to have one.
I think it was so key that Orno was out 17-7 early. You play from behind a team like that, and you're up the creek without a paddle.
Yeah, you've got to be up on them early, or it gets real ugly real fast, which is what happened to Lincoln in the regional final.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a credit to Orno for coming out hot.
Yeah, They came out hot. They came out really well engaged defensively, and they clearly had a game plan for how to slow those two guys down. And the freshman big guy nearly ruined their plan. Ripley, he had a fantastic game.
He had like 3 straight buckets late in the game to make it close.
He had like 3. Yeah, he had a couple buckets. He had a couple blocks, like a couple really impressive blocks. And yeah, nearly got it done. So your ballot is, what do you go? Are you going Chance 1 and then who's 2? I'm going to make you do a 2-3.
I'll go Chance Zach Carter.
Okay.
Just because, again, I've seen so much of Chance and Zach and, know them very well. So I'll go Chance Zach Carter.
All right. Cool. All right. So we got a couple minutes left. What else you want to cover? Anything else here?
You don't want to talk Miss Maine? We're just only doing the men.
Let's talk Miss Maine. I mean, we haven't really talked much about Miss Maine because I think it's a foregone
50
conclusion.
Years ago, man.
Yeah, I think. I saw Maddie Fitzpatrick twice, and I saw her once from up high where I usually sit, and she was in foul trouble the first half, barely played in the first half, nearly had a triple double in a regional final.
Yeah, I think I don't think there's any question on that award.
18 minutes.
I got to see her because Hamden was AA last year, so I got to see her play Hamden once. I got to see her play Bangor once, and I got to see her play Bangor this year as well. And she is the way she just controls every aspect of the game is Cooper Flag with Nokomis-esque. Just the fact that nothing happens that doesn't run through her on both sides of the ball, and she's always making the right play. And high IQ players are going to get it done no matter what, and that's how she had almost a triple double in 18 minutes, just because she knows where to be, she knows what to do, and she knows how to do it.
Reminded me a little bit of JC Christopher for Skowhegan.
Very dominant in the A that year.
And she was dominant in a way where I got like a lot of people mad at me because that was her senior year, was Cooper's freshman year, and I tweeted that she was the better basketball player, which I stand by, that at that point she was the better basketball player, not the better athlete, not the better prospect, but in terms of like pure basketball skill and controlling the game on both ends, I thought she was the best player in the state.
She was damn good, but there was this one play that Cooper made where he read a passing lane perfectly well, and went backhanded it, just went to tip it, but backhanded it and grabbed the ball, and then went down and spun off one defender and dunked on another. Again, but I was like, this is one of the best players I've ever seen live. And he was, I think, 14 at the time.
Yeah, the thing that wowed me was he tried to pick off a pass against Coney in the semifinal, and he just, his momentum took him towards half court, and then I think it was Briggs from Coney, who's a really good shooter and has a really quick release, pulled up for a 3, and Cooper somehow stopped, got back, and blocked it from behind. And I was just like,
oh, he just does things that you've never seen before on a basketball court, and we only saw him for a year, and like I can still say that. I've seen very few people that close that are that good, and I was on it was A10 basketball. I saw it's Cooper and Obi Toppin are the two best players I've seen. That close from those days.
He's pretty good. Yeah.
And it was something. But JC was also a damn good player, but
yeah, she would have games where she would just sort of like be like, you guys do your thing. I'm going to be over here if you need me.
And then the first time I saw her, Dave Peck was my sports director at the time. And he was like, there's this girl there. She's going to Boston University. She's really good. And I think I get there, she picks off a pass, like baseball throw, bounce pass, half the distance of the court, right to someone's hands. Next possession, hits a contested 3. Next possession, like hesitation layup. And I'm like, I think it's number 3, right? Yeah.
And she was like that as a freshman. She was ridiculous.
It's something.
Yeah. Her going against Lizzie Gruber was always a lot of fun because
those were battles. And Skowhegan had some size too with Callaway LePage there to match up with Gruber.
Yeah, they gave Gardner a ton of trouble. I think Mike Gray had a small celebration when JC Christopher graduated.
Gruber had this play, oh my God, in Augusta last year. I think she blocked a shot and then full court pass, like right into someone's hands. It was
I saw that clip.
Like 3 seconds.
So So I live near Lincoln Academy, and they played Lincoln Academy her senior year for some reason. Like no one knows why. Lincoln Academy was terrible, but so they played them at Lincoln Academy, and I'm like, oh, I'm friends with Mike. I'll go check that game out. He decided on a whim to put Lizzie at the top of the zone guarding the ball, and this poor Lincoln Academy point guard brings the ball down the floor, and there's Lizzie Gruber, arms out.
Yep.
And she's
Oh
like,
God.
she's like, what do I do? Oh my God. Oh my God. And then they just took the ball. She had like 8 steals in the first quarter. It was hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome. They were those two teams were very dominant. I mean, especially once JC left, Gardner was insane. That was one of the biggest upsets in the tournament was them not winning last year.
Yeah, I was shocked that they didn't win that because I saw them beat Lawrence, and Lawrence was close with them, but it always felt like Gardner was the better team. But Lawrence just got crazy hot from 3.
And that can do it. And Maddie Provost, the baller, that helps too. And then
She's
you have
definitely a baller
here too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a surprise because I thought we were going to get a Gruber. Who's on the other side of that? It was Brunswick?
Yeah, Shipley.
Yeah, her and Shipley I thought would have been a really fun matchup.
Yeah. And then Lawrence ended up winning the whole thing.
Yeah, they won the whole thing. That was a surprise. And then Brunswick definitely got their revenge this year on Coney. That game was not close.
Yep.
I was working on the newsletter before I got on here with you, and I'm looking at the box score from it, and I'm like, oh right, they won like a 30-5 run in the second
in the middle of the game, second and third quarters. Yeah, the first quarter was close. Yeah, oh my God, it was nuts.
Yeah, because Coney hit some threes in the first quarter, and Brunswick got off to a slow start, and then they just flipped the switch, and it's like, oh, okay. I'm like, I recognize this from when we used to have to play Brunswick. They would do this to us. This looks familiar.
Flip a switch, yeah. You hit a couple shots, and it's contagious. I love basketball.
It's so cool. It's the best sport, unless Dean Wade is hitting threes on you in the fourth quarter, bringing them back for some reason.
It was crazy. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget where I was when Dean Wade torched the Celtics.
The discourse around it today is ridiculous. They're like, are the Celtics done? It's like,
does Joe Mazzulla need to be fired?
It's like they've lost 13 games. Like every so often, someone's going to get super, super hot.
They're one in their
come back and beat you.
Yeah, I mean they've lost 1 in their last 12. What's going to happen?
I mean, yeah, they're probably break them up. It's probably time to split up the Jays. It's clearly not working.
That's always the discourse is one of them's got to go.
Yeah, it's so crazy. They do need to speed things up a little bit in the fourth quarter, I think, and not get the ball stuck on people in crunch time. But that's a minor thing. It's the problem is they don't in enough close games to figure that out, I think.
Especially lately.
Yeah. So what do you feel? How confident are you? How much money do you have on the Celtics to win it all?
Before they got Drew, I put 75 down.
Oh, wow.
So I got him at 450.
Okay.
So that's to win, like, when I get the 75 back, it'll be like I think a $400 cash, something like that. I don't know the top of my head, but yeah.
I think I have a $25 bonus bet. One of my first bonus bets was on them, and I want to say I got it at 380, something like that.
I have Dula 25-1 Coach of the Year.
I think I have him for Coach of the Year. I forget what the odds are, and I just put money on Tatum for MVP, but I put like $1 on Tatum for MVP because I'm on a cold streak and I haven't won anything in a while. So
with Shai and Jokic, it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, if they end up, I can see the discourse changing where if they end up with they're clearly going to end up with the best record, and there will be that Jokic won it, best player on the best team, and then you'll start to get the Boston discourse because that always helps. And the whole how he sacrificed his shots and he's doing less to win and that sort of thing. I can see it turning.
Because he'll have similar stats with less usage than anybody else.
Right. And they're gonna have the best record by maybe 8-9 games, which
by far. They're good.
So that could be a big swing. The game against Denver will be pretty interesting though.
That if they win tomorrow, everybody forgets about Dean Wade.
Yeah.
Well, nobody will ever hear from him again. It'll be like Drew Bledsoe.
But if they lose 2 in a row, Jesus, it'd be a disaster.
Wish the trade deadline was still here. I'd blow it up now.
All right. So we are pretty much out of time. Where can people find you other than on the TV?
On Twitter, I am at Tyler Krusz TV, and then you can find me usually on channel 22 or channel 7 in the Bangor market, the Fox ABC stations. So I think we do a good job there, and you'll find some good work there every night.
And then he's gonna be there going forward. He's gonna challenge Tim Throckmorton for longest tenure as TV sports person in Bangor.
I think
just putting that out there.
In the running right now, he's awesome. Oh, not in Bangor. He's
in Bangor. Well, Tim Throckmorton was there for
forever. Yeah, Throck's a legend.
40 years.
I feel like I'm chasing the Throck shadow every day.
Yeah, is he still around? I mean, I know he's still alive, but
he's the golf coach and the tennis coach at Hamden Academy.
Oh, is he really? Okay, cool.
I talk to him on the radio every Wednesday morning.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah, you can also hear me on the morning roast 6 to 8 Wednesday and Thursday on 92.9 Ticket.
There you go. Yeah, I was talking to David the other day because I had never actually met him, and I was telling him how I saw his first broadcast.
He is awesome, and
I somehow remembered that all these years later that I had seen his first broadcast because I remember thinking, "Who is this guy? This is because I must have been like, I don't know, 8 maybe, something like that, and not old enough to realize that people change jobs maybe, in TV because there was another guy." And then he was gone. And then there's this new guy. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. Who is this guy?
What's on the news?
Yeah, what's with this nonsense? And then, now he's a legend.
He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's awesome. I love Dave.
Oh, yeah. Incredibly nice. Incredibly nice. He should, I hope he wins the media award at the banquet.
He'll be up here?
Saturday.
Nice.
I don't know.
It's Friday, right? With the
Mr. It Friday? I don't know.
I
know I'm not planning on going, so I think it's sold out.
I'm going home tomorrow, so I'll be in Rhode Island. I'm going to UConn at Providence Saturday. It's my first time seeing Dan Hurley perform live since they lost to Davidson in the A-10 championship game in 2018. 59-58, and they ran a BS last. They had the ball last, and they just ran a ISO to EC Matthews.
I'm a huge Bobby Hurley fan, so then by extension, I'm a Dan Hurley fan, even though I don't really like UConn. But
Dan's such a nice guy.
Like that was my introduction. Like the first player I was a fan of was Bobby Hurley when he was because I read an article about him in Sports Illustrated for Kids.
So did you like
that was the thing?
For Sacramento.
I liked him in high school.
Oh, at St. Anthony's.
At St. Anthony's, yeah. It was an article about this kid who was a coach's kid, and I was a coach's kid, and he was this gritty, tough, skinny white kid, and I was this skinny white kid who wished he was gritty and tough. And I was like, oh, this is my guy. Because, I mean, that would have been like, what did that have been, like 88? Something like that?
Probably, yeah, because he was in Duke in the 90s. He played in that secret scrimmage against the Dream Team.
Yeah, and so I would have been probably 8 or 9. It was probably around the same time, something like that. And that's when you sort of latch onto a guy. And I was just devastated when he was in that car accident.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what – so Dan had quit basketball, and then that had happened, and he went back.
Right. And I think Bobby quit basketball for a while.
And then Dan brought him on staff, I think, at Wagner.
Right.
They came to Rhode Island together. There's a cool video at Rhode Island together, and they play horse, and it's just clearly edited. Mm-hmm. And they're over the Ryan Center off the backboard, there's a roof on the Ryan Center, so they can't do that. But it's a really funny video. Some people think you're a better shooter than me. Yeah,
I have a feeling that their Thanksgiving dinners are like that episode of The Bear.
They're both. I mean, outside of a game, Dan is you probably need to jack his levels up if you interview him. He's very.
Very quiet. Okay.
Yeah, very funny. Yeah, he's a great dude. Don't know really much about Bobby because he was, I think, he was somewhere. He wasn't at Alabama yet or at Arizona State yet when I was in school, but he wasn't at Rhode Island anymore. It might have been at Buffalo or something.
Yeah, he was at Buffalo for a little bit.
Yeah, and then Nate Oates went to Buffalo, and now he's at Bama. That's where I'm getting that from.
Right. Right. All right. Well, so you're going to do that, and then we're going to wish David well in winning the media award at the Maine Association of Basketball Coaches thing.
Yeah.
I think
Yes,
it
we
might be
will.
him.
Hopefully,
He hasn't won it yet.
I didn't see any list of finalists there, so best of luck to Dave. Hopefully, he very well deserving of him. So hopefully, he gets it.
Hopefully. I mean, he hasn't gotten it yet. I don't understand why he hasn't gotten it yet. I mean, it's crazy. He's like a legend, but whatever. They'll probably give it to someone else. All right. So that's the show. You can find this on everywhere you podcast and places you don't podcast. Thank you so much, Tyler, for coming on and talking basketball with me. And enjoy your trip back to Rhode Island.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime. Yeah, hopefully come on again if you ever need me.
I probably will because, you always need someone who can just shoot the shit with you for an hour about basketball.
Oh, man, I could do it all day.
All right, perfect. All right, so thanks again. And this has been the podcast. Do the subscribing and all that nonsense and tell your friends and whatever. All right, thank you so much for listening.